Yo, what is going on, guys? CWpoke here, back with a brand new VGC 2016 analysis video. That is right, it has been quite some time, but I felt like doing one because I really wanted to cover this Pokemon. It was something that was very unique to me, something that was kind of a joke in the community as far as like something that was actually good, but it wasn't, but I don't know. So I figured we would go ahead and look into Espeon today and see what the hype is around this Pokemon, if there is any hype, and I don't know, maybe try it out for ourselves in upcoming battle episodes. So let's jump straight into the basic information. Espeon is a psychic type, a pure psychic type with the ability of Synchronize, which is not a bad ability. It gives you, if you ever get status conditioned, it gives that status right back to the same Pokemon that gave it to you, which can be pretty cool, but more importantly, you're probably going to be using it for Magic Bounce, and that is a really cool ability that we will go into full detail later. But basically what it does is, instead of taking the status condition just like Synchronize, it actually just bounces it back. So let's say someone tries to throw you with a Thunder Wave and paralyze you. No, you don't get paralyzed. Instead, it goes back to them and they get paralyzed instead, which is really neat. So that is the ability you're probably going to want to strive for. It is its hidden ability, so you will have to work a little bit harder to find that. Now, as far as the stats go, Espeon has a base HP value of 65, 65 attack, 60 defense, 130 special attack, 95 special defense, and 110 speed. So a very frail Pokemon. On the defensive side and HP value, it has next to nothing that is going to be taking any hits. So if you get hit with a sucker punch or something, you will probably be knocked out. You're probably not going to live those hits. But 130 special attack is actually really solid. Now sadly, Espeon does kind of lack that OHKO potential that we'll see later. But still 130 special attack is really nice as far as getting off some good damage. And 110 speed is phenomenal. It's a really good speed tier in this metagame, especially where base 90 is such a crucial value. And of course, with 110, we're way above that. So those are its key selling points right there. So let's jump into the moves. Now, the common moves are kind of weird because, again, Espeon is not a super common Pokemon. So a lot of these moves, it's kind of like, what? That's what it uses? But apparently so. So obviously Psychic for its main stab attack, Dazzling Gleam just for more coverage and just another solid, move to do some good damage. Trick is where it starts to get interesting. Trick Room, I know you guys were probably just like, yo, you were just talking about its 110 speed. Yeah, but Trick Room was its 4th most common move. I'm not making this up. Either that or 5th. It might have been 5th because I skipped out on Protect, but I think Trick Room was still actually higher up than Protect, but maybe not, I don't know. Skill Swap, Charm, and then there's a number of other moves that I've seen too. I've seen Yawn, I've seen, I think it's Power Swap. There's so many interesting moves that Espeon can use, and it's why this is a very tough Pokemon to use. You have to get very creative. But we're going to kind of take a look into one of the movesets after we jump into what the common items are. Now, this was a little bit easier to figure out. Whopping 40 to 50% of the Espeons out there are using the Choice Scarf set, which says a lot about this upcoming set that we're going to analyze. On top of that, Focus Sash is next, followed by Citrus Berry, and then any items after that were very small. I think I saw Light Clay. I guess if you want to set up screens, maybe people are doing that. I don't know, but those were the most common items I saw. Choice Scarf by far, Focus Sash the next one, which makes sense. We talked about how frail Espeon was, so you kind of want to protect it from getting one-shotted all over the place. Now, Magic Bounce. I know what you guys are thinking, the main reason why you'd want to use Espeon is for this ability and for Dark Void. In order to counter Dark Void, one of the most annoying, threatening moves in the metagame this year. And, well, it's really cool because it does work. It does counter Dark Void. You just have to know how to do it, and you really have to understand how it works. Also, guys, side note, this slide I felt was really boring, so I figured we'd take some pretty nice looking artwork from the side. This is actually a fan art of Jessica Negri cosplaying as Espeon, so credits to Synodical, I believe, for this amazing artwork. If you guys don't want to fall asleep on this slide, there you go, I try to provide that for you guys. But let's go back into talking about Magic Bounce versus Dark Void. Now, the thing that you have to know is that it does not protect your teammate. So let's say you have an Espeon and a Kangaskhan out on the field right now, and your opponent has a Thundurus, and they use their Prankster Thunder Wave to go for your Kangaskhan. It is not going to protect your Kangaskhan. Your Kangaskhan will get paralyzed. There is no denying that. That is how it works. Now, if they targeted your Espeon, then Magic Bounce would kick in and the Thunder Wave would target back towards the Thundurus. Now, because Thundurus is an electric type, I believe it will fail. But either way, you don't have to worry about a paralyzed Espeon, which is nice. But again, your Kangaskhan would be paralyzed, so keep that in mind. Keep that in mind when it comes to Dark Void, because what happens is, let's say you have, again, your Espeon and your Kangaskhan out on the field, and your opponent has their Kangaskhan and their Smeargle, right? Because Kangaskhan's on every team. So let's say their Smeargle goes first. It's a really fast Choice Scarf set, and it goes for Dark Void. What happens is, first things first, it uses Dark Void on your Kangaskhan. So whether your Kangaskhan avoids it or gets hit, your Kangaskhan will get hit with Dark Void no matter what. Then what happens is Espeon's ability will activate. Espeon will not have to worry about dodging Dark Void or getting put to sleep. Then it'll bounce back, and it'll bounce back and hit both targets. So in an ideal scenario, your Kangaskhan dodges the Dark Void, Espeon bounces it back afterwards, and both of their Pokemon are asleep. Or maybe, you know, everyone gets put to sleep and all three Pokemon are asleep on the field except for Espeon. But either way, hopefully you guys do kind of understand that. It's kind of hard to explain, but I wanted to make sure that you guys were totally clear on understanding how Magic Bounce works, especially with Dark Void, because I know when you add doubles into the mix, it gets a little confusing. Figure out, well, where does this one, does it hit my partner? Does it go first? Does it go after? That is hopefully a clear way to explain it. But now let's get rid of all that confusing stuff and just talk about the one and only set that I actually decided to look into. Now this set was borrowed from ANTI-SMEARGLE. If you guys do not know, he is an amazing VGC player. Check him out. His Twitter handle is right above the Sweet Dreams Smeargle set name. And yeah, this is actually his Espeon, and honestly his team was the reason why I decided to do Espeon. You know, the running joke was everyone is using the Big Six except ANTI-SMEARGLE is using the Espeon, you know. It was like he was just throwing this Espeon out of nowhere. People were like, why the heck would you use Espeon? But he had some good luck with it, and turns out it worked out really well for his team. So his Espeon, or at least this set, he did have another set, but I just decided to cover this one, was an Espeon with the Choice Scarf, and that explains probably why most people are using Choice Scarf, you know, kind of copying what they see done really well. They decided to also use the Choice Scarf. So that was the item he went for. He, of course, went with the ability Magic Bounce, and went with a modest nature instead of a timid, again, presumably because Choice Scarf, you know, you don't have to invest in as much speed. As for EVs, he gave it 212 HP, 92 defense, so a decent amount of bulk, trying to cover up those weaknesses of Espeon. I didn't see any benchmarks, so I don't actually know what this helps you against. It may just be a generic sort of like, this just makes him bulkier kind of thing, or maybe it's like a Sucker Punch from something does it Oko. I don't know. You'd have to run some damage calcs on what you're worried about. But as far as special attack goes, 172 special attack to, you know, kind of boost up that already really good base special attack, followed by 4 special defense, just kind of a filler EV, and 28 speed. Again, I don't know exactly where this benchmark goes, but I do know that because this is a Choice Scarf set, it's going to be outspeeding pretty much all of the metagame aside from mostly probably Scarf threats. I'm guessing this definitely does outspeed a timid 252 Smeargle with a Choice Scarf. I'm pretty sure it's faster than that, and that may actually be where the benchmark is on the 28 speed. You will have to double check that. I'm not saying that is 100% certain, but just double check that to be sure if that's what you're really worried about outspeeding. Now for the movesets, we have Psychic for that strong damage, and on top of that we also have Dazzling Gleam for the coverage. Then we have Trick and Charm. Now this is pretty interesting because Trick was something that we saw in my battle against John Who. If you guys have not seen that, I suggest you check it out. There was actually a Pokemon he used, and I can't remember off the top of my head what Pokemon it was, but he had a Pokemon that was scarfed and had Trick, and actually I think it was a Rotom. I can't remember for sure, but either way it worked out really well. Now the reason why our Inanimate used it is actually the same reason why John used it for the most part, is that you can use it to hinder opposing Xerneas, which is really nice because you can Trick, you can give them a Choice Scarf and give yourself their Power Herb, and what happens is if a player is not expecting it, like what happened to me, he or she will go for the Geomancy. And now at that point, you're scarfed locked into Geomancy, so you can get the boost all you want, but you can't actually switch moves and attack. And you lose that Power Herb, so you don't even get the immediate 1-turn boost. It's a 2-turn boost at that point. It essentially completely cripples Xerneas if they don't switch out. So it is a phenomenal option for Xerneas, who is an incredibly strong threat. Of course, this Pokemon in general is also just really threatening for Smeargle. You're probably going to see your opponent use Smeargle a lot less. They probably will not be as likely to bring it out on the field because they'll be worried about it. On top of that, it's just a really good a very good anti-status Pokemon. If you're worried about Will-O-Wisp and Thunder Waves, that could be a potential switch in. Reflect that back to the Pokemon that's trying to dish out the status ability, and it'll work out really well. Now, Charm is another really cool move because it's just a really good supportive move. It drops the target's Pokemon, it drops their attack by -2, which is pretty harsh. That's 2 Intimidates in one move. So if there are physical attackers you're really worried about, I don't know, like maybe Mega Kangaskhan, Primal Groudon, Mega Salamence, this is a really good option, especially considering your Choice Scarfed in really fast. So if you're really worried about immediate damage, or maybe you don't want to take a Sucker Punch from Kangaskhan, okay, don't go for an attack, charm it to give it -2 attack, and its Sucker Punch is going to fail. So you really just crippled a Mega Kangaskhan. So as you guys can tell, this is a very clever set. This is definitely not going to be something that is going to sweep worlds by a landslide, but it could be a really solid option in the right hands, and that leads me to the wrap up. This Pokemon is an incredibly niche role, probably the most niche Pokemon we've seen so far. I know the last analysis I did was Bronzong, who was also pretty niche, but this one is even more so. So really only consider this if you are at a complete loss against status. I mean, you know, it's not like there's a whole lot of things that really care too much about taking a Dazzling Gleam or a Psychic from Espeon, so it's not like you're really going to be doing a whole lot of offensive damage. You are going to be hitting stuff for good damage, but you know, it's not going to be sweeping your opponent's teams or anything like that. It's really for the status, and it requires the player to get very creative. I mean, I went with one set here. There was another set I could have gone for, but I really wanted to go with one set because honestly, you know, this is just an example. If you're going to want to use Espeon, you could try this set, and in fact, I'm actually going to be trying this set in the next VGC battle that we do on Road to Regionals, which by the way is going to end soon because Nationals is actually kind of the next thing on the horizon very soon. And that kind of leads me into the finale. So I want to say thank you guys again so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to click that like button. If you want to join the Poke fam, be sure to click that subscribe button. We have a good time here. And if you want to check out some other videos, like a Road to Regionals episode where we actually go into battle with some of these Pokemon that we analyze or talk about, you can see that one right there with a Mega Lopunny and an Azumarill. That team was actually a lot of fun. I'll probably bring it back, I don't know. And then if you want to see another video that I just did recently, which is actually a pretty different video than what I normally do, it's actually a Pokemon Sun and Moon hype talk video. This is just me talking about some of the things that I want to see in the upcoming game, some things that I hope Game Freak does capitalize on, and kind of asking you guys on your opinions. You know, what do you guys want to see? What do you think will happen? What do you hope doesn't happen? All that kind of stuff. So if you want to see that and chime in with your opinions on what you want to see in the upcoming Generation 7 games, that would be pretty awesome. But that is it for me, guys. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Hopefully by then I'll be done with this cough and my voice will sound better. I don't know if it's kind of hoarse in this video, but either way, enough rambling. See you guys in the next episode. Peace out.